92.1 FM.
Do you want to relive the golden days of Stockton? Join Nate Knott on Stockton Alive every first and third Monday at 6 p.m. Tune into thevoiceofstockton.org.
Hi everyone, this is Dr. Julie Dameron, local veterinarian for over 20 years. I am so excited about my new radio show, Tales and Tips, on Tuesday morning at 10 a.m. on Facebook, YouTube, Voice of Stockton, and KXVS Radio. I will discuss relevant issues affecting animals and pet owners today, how to avoid common problems, and how to extend the quality of life for your cherished companions. As a community advocate, I will also discuss important social issues that affect our city. I plan to showcase organizations and heroes who are doing amazing things to help others. Remember to tune in every Tuesday morning at 10, starting soon.
My name is Miriam, and I am the voice of Stockton.
This is KXVS, the voice of Stockton. And this is the Tom Patti reality show featuring Tom Patti.
Thank you, Governor Don. And I've got my trusty sidekick, Ted, with me, and I've got a special, fantastic, and phenomenal guest, Miss Julie Dameron-Brown, that I've now put in the hot seat, and she's going to be with us momentarily. But this is the Tom Patti reality show, where we discuss all things local, political, relevant, and real. So I want to welcome my guest, Miss Julie Brown, and Ted. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having me. I'm honored that you asked me, and I'm excited. It's a little weird being in the hot seat. It's weird being on this end.
It is. Well, I'm going to make you uncomfortable because we are going to go deep. I told you when I walked in here. I mean, honestly, Julie, you are truly a Wonder Woman, and I'm so amazed at all that you do, and the passion, the commitment, and the execution of so much that you do in this community, that you really are a Wonder Woman. And I just marvel at all you do. In fact, I'll tell you a quick funny story. Is last year there was a big graffiti thing on a mural thing on a brick building downtown. So I contacted Bank of Stockton to have access and got a scissor lift delivered and went there early in the morning to get this all done. So I got there, kind of checked on a couple of things, eventually got on the scissor lift, got up to the roof, and who's already up on the side of the wall painting? Our very own Miss Julie Dameron-Brown. She's up there painting already. I'm like, it's early morning. I'm wondering who's going to show up, what we're going to do, how we're going to do it. She's already up on the wall, rolling away and getting rid of the graffiti. So I'm just like, how does she even get up here? I operated the scissor lift, and but she was already up there, and that's where the Wonder Woman part comes in.
To be honest, I was a little disappointed in that. You see, my friends and I were there the night before doing the graffiti. Only to have you two do-gooders come and try to clean it up.
Yeah, and it was gone. It's not going to happen. We cleaned it all up. A couple of Rotarians showed up, and that's Dennis Cochran shows up to fight that graffiti abatement, and we appreciate his commitment as well. So, Miss Julie Dameron-Brown, how do you do all that you do? And please just identify for me a moment, really, truly. What's your passion? How are you so motivated and committed to doing all that is going on in our community?
Well, first, before I answer that, I think it's kind of ironic coming from you, because as people who know you know that you're all over throughout town, and I could easily say the same words that you just said to me about your commitment to community, and this is way before you were ever in the County Board of Supervisors. You were all over helping in the community. And the event, the graffiti event you talked about, yes, was our Rotary Club, and I think Jesus Andrade was there as well. And my passion is trying to make Stockton a better place. Unfortunately, in the news, you hear all this negativity about Stockton, and it's continuous.
Sure.
Anytime you hear anything in national news about Stockton, 90% of the time it's negative. And for those of us that live here and participate in organizations like the Rotary Club of Stockton, which you and I both belong, we know that that's not real. That's not what happens. And yes, there is violence here and crime just like in any other big city. But my goal is to make things better for animals and for people, and to show people that you too can make a difference. And you and I go out and do stuff all over the city, but anyone that has a passion to make things better in Stockton can find an organization with something that's close and dear to their heart and make a difference in our community.
It's one of your colleagues, Roy Morales, who's
Yes.
also a very good friend of Tom and yours as well, says that everybody has a role to play in
Yes.
making this community a better place. Would you agree with that?
Definitely. And Roy is another magnificent example. He's a great ambassador for our community, and he goes out and participates in lots of events. He's the past president of the Stockton Host Lions. He and I are in Lions together. And just continuous passion for our community. For me, what allows me to do it is now that I'm working ER. So the fact that I'm working at night and I might get a nap of a couple hours in there, here and there, that frees up my whole day, and I can participate in the community, so I can actually maximize the events and things that I can participate in.
Well, and perfect example is that you're not a member to just one service organization, Rotary. No, you had to join a second one, which all of a sudden I feel guilty. I'm like, I've been to Lions, I've been a guest speaker, and of course I know a lot of Lions members, and so it's like, oh, I should probably join a second club because I got to keep up with Miss Wonderful here.
Well, and Rotary secretly doesn't like that I'm in two clubs, but I make sure that I do enough in Rotary so that they don't give me any pushback over that.
No, you can't. And there was, I mean, Ort Loftus, another fine
Yes.
example of a great Stocktonian, one that did things and so altruistic and very beneficial, and obviously had a local radio station. A lot of people don't know Don Imus had his career started here in Stockton.
Really?
Yeah, before he went on.
Wow, I didn't
In
know
fact,
that.
he used to talk about how he had a favor that was done to him is Ort Loftus brought him to the side and said, I'm going to have to do you a favor. I'm going to have to fire you because you don't belong here, and
Wow.
you need to go on and go somewhere else. And so Imus obviously made his way back to the East Coast and became a bigger and bigger personality. But so Ort, who Crosstown Freeway is named after, was involved in at least two that I know of service clubs because
He's
he was
part
just
of
committed.
Lions.
Still is.
He's still
Yeah.
part of Lions. Actually, we'll give a shout out to him because when we have our crab feed, he is still the one that sells the most tickets. The crab
Really?
feed, yes.
Yeah. Oh,
Yes.
wonderful. Good. Now he's one of those like sweet, dear gentlemen that is just a true prince. And there's a few of them, but there's just someone like that's an example of a real prince of a man.
That's great. We need more people like that. It's great that we have that in our past, but it's also wonderful to see someone like yourself and Roy Morales and others that are stepping up to sell those crab feed tickets, to sell tickets to a number of benefits throughout the year in this city, because, as you said, this city does get some negative press. Many cities do, but lately it seems that we've had that. But it's changing. We have new leadership. Our city is growing, and I like the direction that we're going. I think,
here's the thing about that, okay? You look at the media, and there's that old adage, if it bleeds, it leads, right?
Mhm.
So think about it. I've lived in Los Angeles. I've lived in New York City, and living here in, obviously, Central California, where I love and is my favorite. You have, just go up the road to Sacramento. You have a state capitol. They deal with statewide business, government, okay? That's going to be front page all the time. When a drive-by shooting or something horrific happens, it's going to be buried on page 4, 5, 6, 8, 10.
That's a good
Because
point.
it's a very busy newspaper filled with a lot of important, relevant things that is driving that city up there. Well, what we have going on here, you're going to think about what happens in the newspaper that's on your front cover is what's really unusual. If it was normal, it wouldn't be there. So the unusual, which is oftentimes the more tragic, more dramatic, is going to be on your front page, and you think that that's just the most worst thing ever. The reality is, all the good things that are going on aren't dramatic. They're steady. They're continuous. We are progressive. We have great people. We have a great community that's bonding, that's mobilizing, and stepping up, whether it be at the government or the private sector. They're the great part that I'm watching and learning and seeing, like people like yourself, and not to keep just talking about things that you and others keep doing, but it is true. There's a consortium of people on the private and businesses that are donating and contributing to nonprofits. You've got nonprofits that are stepping up. You've got government agencies that are stepping up. Everybody's rising to the occasion, and that's exciting. You're on the turning point, quite possibly. At least we know we're engaged to get there, because sitting around the old status quo isn't working. So that's what I like to see, is to be part of what we think is, let's be part of the team that takes part of the coaching staff that takes that last place team and makes it a top contender, versus being a top contender and going down, down, down. So I appreciate our relationships and the city's leadership as well. They're all stepping up.
And there's a lot of really good nonprofits, like you mentioned. And for me, that's my excitement in having my show. Unlike your show that it has a more political and on up to the minute of what's happening, I'm really highlighting organizations that are helping. And I think together we can make a huge difference for Stockton.
Now, are you from Stockton? Where do you hail from?
I grew up in Southern California. I actually came up to Northern California to go to school at UC Davis, both for my undergraduate and my grad. I'm actually going back to do a fellowship in emergency medicine, but I do consider Stockton my adopted hometown.
So you were a surfer babe before, on the beach, kind of Southern Cal. That's what everybody's thinking now.
Something like that.
Something like that.
So you traded you traded the beaches of Southern California for the Delta.
Yes, definitely. And the whole vibe in Northern California, at least when I first came up here, was completely different in terms of how people interacted with you when you talked to them, meeting people on the street or what have you. And the vibe in Northern California was just much more neighborly.
Absolutely. And even when I lived in Southern California, believe it or not, and ironically, I have lots of good friends. You're going to find good people are people. There's good people, and I always find birds of a feather flock together. So you'll find good people. But oftentimes, I had a lot of friends that were from Northern California that living down in Southern Cal. You kind of had that commonality, and they did have a different perspective than some, not all, but some people that might have a different mentality down in Southern Cal. So I've enjoyed that immensely.
I lived in Southern California as well, I prefer Northern California to Southern California. It's a great place, and as you were saying, and as Julie was saying, I think Stockton and San Joaquin County, we have a lot to offer, and we're now starting to showcase that to others who may not be familiar with this region.
You were in competitive bodybuilding when you lived down there, right?
Absolutely. I wasn't in it. I was winning competitive.
Bodybuilding? Okay.
Yeah, Venice.
Wow.
I'm just. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, Julie's regretting that she's married.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of Southern California versus Northern California, the Delta Tunnels plan looks dead.
No, it's not dead.
Oh.
It is absolutely not dead. Metropolitan Water can finance this entire project by themselves.
Wow.
They just wanted partnerships. It's not dead. So I know at the Board of Supervisors, we've got very active participation. We've got a consortium of counties that have coalesced and moving that agenda forward.
Because it's
there
not
are
just
better alternatives.
And it's not just San Joaquin County that's opposed to the Delta Tunnels,
It's almost every region
tunnels.
up here. Almost
Exactly.
We've got 6 counties that are connected and part of a regional water board that is fighting and messaging and meeting and calling and imposing a better alternative to offering a better alternative to Southern Cal.
So have you heard anything about MWD, what they might be doing?
They delayed their vote because they felt that they did not have the support, so they pushed it off about another 30, 45 days, something like that, 30 or 60 days, I'm not sure exactly. So there's people working behind the scenes on both ends, but it's not dead. They got a major hit when Westlands did not sign on for it. And I love Westlands. Like, well, unless we're guaranteed unlimited water supply, then we're not in favor. Well, of course we don't want to give you unlimited water supply, and nor does anybody else. But good on this is that San Diego is not on board either. So Met Water is really going to have to carry this whole thing. Now, what I'm pushing is that Orville spillway that collapsed 10 years ago. That's Met Waters. That's Metropolitan Waters water. And 10 years ago, they were told by survey after survey that your spillway is in risk. It needs to be repaired, updated, and refurbished. And it was a $50 million fix. They decided, they voted against it, and now it's a $300 million fix. So they should be spending their tunnel money fixing that spillway, and let's take away their resources that they have for that tunnel.
Well, and why aren't they investing in desalination? I don't understand that.
And the problem is that we've talked about it. The problem is you've got opposition from all spectrums. There's a lot of environmental groups that are opposed to it. If you did 17 desal plants south of let's say the Grapevine, just Southern Cal, you'd have enough water for all of inland Los Angeles and that basin. But you've got opposition, energy intensive, too much salt in the water. There's a lot of environmental impacts that people are concerned about, so they fight it. They did one desal plant in Carlsbad, and it took 20 years to get it online. 20 years.
20 years.
All of the legal challenges, all the battles, all the effort that they had to go to put through, 20 years to get it through the process. So what we really need, we need a diversified approach, a multi-pronged approach, and a regional sustainability. I'll repeat the numbers again.
Just like with any problem, it's more than one
and it's
solution.
Local. There are local opportunities. San Diego recaptures and reuses 30% of their water. Okay, Los Angeles recycles 3% of their water. In example, Israel recycles 80% of their water, and they get 50 or 60% from the ocean. So you really start to look at, there are impacting things we can do. When I lived in LA and typhoon weather come through and cars are floating in underground parking lots, none of that water is captured. None of that water is recycled.
It's crazy.
So yeah, it's unfortunate.
It's a missed opportunity.
It is totally missed, and they think it's more cost effective to just import more water from Northern California. The problem is the water they're trying to import. It's not structured, from what they're saying, that it's not intended to be more water. But I'm suspect when you put two 40-foot tunnels, you are grabbing more water from Northern California without increasing the storage supply. That's the problem.
And you said it's cleaner water too.
It is cleaner water. That's the
issue.
main impetus. That is cleaner water than if it comes through the Delta region through San Joaquin. So
surprising to me.
And it's devastating. There's not one person down there, and even a recent city council member in Burbank said, "Well, we'll just have to make a decision for the betterment of the masses. In other words, let's sacrifice Northern California for Southern California." And it's like, nah, it's not okay. So there's a lot of fighting.
And you went to Los Angeles and even spoke against the Delta Tunnels plan. What was it, 2.5 years ago?
A couple years ago, I brought up to the Board of Supervisors. This is a desert basin. You guys have overseen the largest growth in Southern California, and you've not planned in any capacity. And your only answer is just import more water from elsewhere. And so it is a failure of leadership. And unfortunately, what you learn in politics, in government, is it's more reactive than preemptive, because your resources are so tied in to your everyday operation of government and those demands and those needs, which are very real, that only when something becomes critical does that necessitate a change and a shift of focus.
And even here in Northern California, we had the opportunity to set up another water reservoir, and I believe it was voted in. It just was never constructed.
Absolutely true. There's several policies and plans, but now we're going to revert back again to, I had a meeting with John Kautz, and he said in 1974 or 5, he had a meeting with a gal, and he knew her name, a gal from the Sierra Club, and she said, "Mr. Kautz, the way we're going to control population growth in California is we're going to stop all new water projects so that the population doesn't grow." And he goes, well, she was right about one thing. They successfully stopped, through all the environmental challenges and the lobby, a very powerful lobby, very loud and very well organized, they successfully stopped any new water programs except the population doubled. So their idea was, let's limit the growth through a lack of a water supply, but it's a flawed premise, because it's just flat out not worked. But it was their objective, and they've been successful to date.
And stopping new water projects, not controlling the inflow population.
Yeah. So, so Ted, what else you got for us? We have a list of things that we wanted to talk about.
And it's been very busy since we were here last week. Over the weekend, this past weekend, there was a dedication in your district at First Assembly of God Church on Kelly Drive, one of the more economically challenging neighborhoods in your constituency. Heroes Park, a passion project of Pastor Peter Jalili. I was wondering if, Julie, since you're a guest, if you could tell us a little bit about the private work, because most of this was, almost 100% of it was funded through private donations. What is Heroes Park? What does Pastor Jalili hope to do with when this is fully realized to its full concept?
I think you should start with that, because both of us have had involvement with it, but you've done a lot of labor at Heroes Park.
Well, we've obviously put up some structures. I've been able to donate my cranes or other things to help assemble, but it's been a community effort, and faith has really helped yield. I mean, my gosh, they were 2 days away from a concrete pour, and they didn't have the money for the concrete. Somebody drives up and says, I want to make a donation. The night before the concrete pour, they didn't have the workers nor the tools for the concrete pour. They had the concrete pour scheduled. So Peter Powers and Peter Jalili, Pastor Jalili, got together. They said prayers. I don't know if you know that, but they sat there and they said prayers for about 5-10 minutes. Next thing you know, the phone rang and somebody says, "I've got one, not one, but 2 concrete crews ready to be there in the morning when the concrete arrives." And it's just the power of prayer, belief, faith, and just all good things coming together. So they have a basketball court there, and the vision is, and Pastor Jalili is a Rotarian. Rotary's also got involved. We want to help him fulfill his dream of having a little amphitheater. And Lions. Oh yes, true. Lions are very much involved. So there's a vision there. There's a playground now. There's basketball courts. There's recreation. We want to bring in a job training program. We also brought in, I'm the only district in San Joaquin County that doesn't have a community center. So I've pretty much adopted and incorporated any type of services that the county can offer to county residents right there in Kelly Drive, because it is an area in need.
It is, and one of those needs is recreation for young people. In fact, because I was there last week with members of the service clubs, both Rotary and Lions, and other people in the community.
And Dan Wright's doing a great job. That's his district,
his
city council.
as well.
Dan Wright's phenomenal.
He's doing a great job representing that area. It's a 20-minute walk to the nearest public park for residents of that Kelly Drive area, which is why Heroes Park is so important. They have a basketball court. It's going to be a playground. Eventually, I believe it's maybe soccer fields or
I know the amphitheater, and I know he wants to have a walking trail as well that goes around the park. And to me, what's so awesome about it is it's on private property. The fact that the church has been willing to dedicate this land basically to the community and make it a safe place. It's a beacon of light for these kids that unfortunately don't have a lot, and this helps them do something positive. Anytime you're out there, the kids are out playing basketball and they're excited, they love it. And I was there for the ribbon cutting on Sunday, and seeing them dive in once the ribbon was cut. They were on the swings, they were climbing, they were happy, it was joyful, and this is so needed. And
I saw Mayor Michael Tubbs actually put up one of the nets. He and Dan Wright put up the nets by themselves, and those nets are still there because vandals destroyed the backboard of one of the basketball backboards that you put up. It's just amazing that it was very sad that someone would do that, but it was amazing to see the community rally and respond and clean up and pay for those repairs and
they
repair.
Have cameras now.
And exactly. So hopefully, what happened before won't happen again. Now, Tom called you Wonder Woman, and I would agree that's a very apt description of you because of all these activities that you undertake and all the work that you do in the community. One of the events that you're taking a leadership or co-leadership role in is the Disabled Veterans Disabled American Veterans Patriot Ball, and I was wondering, what exactly is that, and can you tell us a little bit more?
So this is exciting because this is an event that has never happened in Stockton before. It's our inaugural event, and I'm sure both of you are aware, we recently were fortunate to have the Vietnam Moving Memorial Wall come to Stockton.
That was great.
Yeah.
And that was huge.
Tom was there, I was there.
And I was there. I think all of us were instrumental in some part in the wall being here and helping to promote it and just enjoy it being here. Out of that, a lot of the different veteran organizations started working together, which is exciting. And I think I've experienced this, you probably experienced this before. Whenever there are people working on a project, sometimes they can have different viewpoints about it.
Sure.
And I think that's been an issue with a lot of the veteran organizations is One organization sees a different role for themselves than another organization might. And what was great about the wall is it was really unifying. And from that, we are now going to have a celebration event for veterans called the Patriot Ball. It's going to be on Friday, November 3rd, and it will be at DeRosa Center at UOP. We are hoping to have 300 people there, and it's really to celebrate veterans and other heroes in our community and continue moving forward doing projects together with all of the local veteran organizations. My hope is after that we can move forward and start to build a museum to honor some of the amazing veterans in our community. Our county actually has over 32,000 veterans. The last census data says 32,400 veterans are in San Joaquin County.
Wow.
And yet we don't have anything to showcase them. And I think it's very needed. We do have some wonderful, amazing memorials. We have the World War II Memorial that our Rotary Club was instrumental in having be developed. We have a Vietnam Memorial, but we don't have a museum. And I would like to see that happen. And so I've been working with Dave Aviles, who's the Vice President of the Disabled American Veterans Charities. And he asked me would I help him on this event. And I agreed to chair it, and I think it's going to be magnificent. And Tom Patti has agreed to be our auctioneer, which is amazing. And I really appreciate that because I think that he will do a fantastic job at it, and I think it's just going to be a really wonderful event celebrating the veterans in our community.
We have to forewarn any attendees, if you scratch your nose or your ear while I'm up there, I will call that as a bid. So we're going to raise some money. Is it a sit-down dinner or is it just a mixer?
Yes. So what's exciting about it is we wanted a very upscale event. So it's a sit-down dinner. We have appetizers and a host bar. Once again, that's a host bar. We have live entertainment, and the dinner that's being served is a duet of chicken and beef, and then there's also dessert. So you were getting a lot for your $100, and it goes to amazing cause. And so far we've been fortunate to have several sponsors, but we would love to have more.
And I understand you're going to be cooking and serving and preparing dessert for that evening, correct? While hosting it?
Not quite.
Okay. And running the check-in.
I might be running the check-in.
I volunteered to. Well, it's a bar that's open. That's incredible for $100 per person. $1,000 a table, or are you selling
the tables are $1,500 at the. We actually offer two opportunities, and they're tables of 10. By the way, they're not your standard tables of 8. For $1,500, you have a one table option, and for $2,500, you have a second table option that just offers a little more promotion, some photo ops, and some other things.
Outstanding. Wow. It's going to be a really fun evening, I know.
Yes, wow, that's great. Now this weekend, closer than that date, we have something else called Steers and Beers.
Yes, so Steers and Beers is actually put on by an amazing organization called the ARC. And it's their major annual fundraiser. And for those of you that are not familiar with the ARC is a care center for people that are mentally disabled and physically challenged. And they work on a daily basis during the week to help these citizens be the best that they can be and really provide life enrichment for them. And the tickets to Steers and Beers are $30, and it's this Saturday 4 to 8 at 41 Yokitz Avenue, which is the address of the ARC. And please, if you're available, please go out and attend. Get a tour of the ARC, see the amazing work that they're doing. This is yet another fabulous nonprofit that we have in Stockton that is changing people's lives.
So you know people at this organization pretty intimately. You know them very well.
I do.
It's a great program.
I was able to tour it actually through Leadership Stockton, but Judy Quintana is a good friend of mine, and she's on the board. She's also the vice president for Latino Times.
Oh, fantastic. Oh. If there's a chance that there's some openings, can we see if we can enroll Ted for any of their programs?
He means as a volunteer director, because
No, I don't mean that at all.
No, of course he means as a volunteer director, because
we'll ask Judy and see if there's a capacity that Ted can fill.
Yeah, and Ted, by the way, I have to say you're best dressed in the room today. You've got a nice sport coat on. You're without any food stains. You're looking good. You got a fresh haircut. Looking good, young man.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks.
Even though everybody thinks you're my uncle.
Yeah, of course. That's That's always nice to hear.
He's the only one that was brave enough to keep the jacket on. It's warm.
Yeah, it's for some reason in the last 30 seconds it seems to have gotten a little bit warmer. Now I understand that while we've talked about these wonderful activities we have where people can have a good time to while they're supporting some worthwhile charities, we do have some. We talked about some of the problems that we've had in Stockton. We mentioned that Stockton has problems, but we didn't really go into what some of those problems might be. One of them obviously is crime. Another one is and it's affecting other communities well, but homeless. And it was a problem before you entered public service as an elected officer. And I know you're involved in it. What are we doing to address it and look for solutions here in this county? We can't worry about what San Diego is doing or Los Angeles, who also have a crisis. Well,
and it's a nationwide
and it's
problem.
Becoming a nationwide problem.
And it's not going to be easily solved. We do have the homeless task force in our county. Kathy Miller has chaired that. It's been a 3-year program. It will be ending actually this year. My husband, Bill Brown, has been on that for the past 2 years, and I joined about a year ago. And what's exciting that's happening now is we are putting recommendations into place in different facets. So we have broken into 3 groups. We have a legal group headed by Miriam Lyle. We have a prevention group headed by John Mendelson, and we have a housing group headed by his father, Bill Mendelson. And in those 3 areas, we have come up with 5 different recommendations that we're actually going to be presenting to you and the Board of County Supervisors, hopefully sometime in November, for approval. And our ideal goal would be that all of the cities in our county would accept and put into place these recommendations to start to have improvement. And the other exciting part is the relationships that have been formed in this organization have allowed us to apply for grants. We actually have $30 million that we've been able to secure in funding through interaction from members of this group. You haven't asked me yet, but I have a group that I've formed called Loving Tales that is out of the relationships in this group.
Now, that's a private entity, I presume. So it's a project that you've undertaken or led. What exactly does Loving Tales, what do they do?
So Loving Tales is an organization that I started, and I actually have wanted to do this for years and years. With homelessness, a lot of people may not be aware that people that are living on the streets often have animals with them. And they tend to have larger dogs, or pit bulls, and they tend to also have little dogs like Chihuahuas. And they'll do this for companionship. That part is obvious. What people might not realize is they do it as well for protection. And it's also warmth as well. And the people have such a strong bond to these animals. They often will feed them before they feed themselves, but they don't have medical care available. And in Stockton in particular, compared to other cities that I've worked, our percentage of animals that die from parvo or are afflicted with parvo is very high, and it's just from lack of access to vaccine. Parvo is a preventable illness. It's a virus that attacks the GI system in young animals usually. They will have severe vomiting, severe diarrhea, blood, lethargy, not eating, and they basically waste away. And so with Loving Tales, I have set up in coordination with Carrington College and Marielle to go out with a group of students, veterinary technician training students from Carrington, and we vaccinate once a month at different locations in Stockton the animals of the homeless or low income. And we're giving parvo vaccines and rabies vaccines. And rabies is a communicable illness that affects people as well. So in that one clinic, we're accomplishing a lot, and we provide food, leashes, and sometimes some other items.
How do you guys fund that vaccine, all the vaccine and all that you guys are offering?
So that's a great question. So the partnerships. So Carrington College provides some of the vaccines, and for that, they just want community outreach, and we've actually turned it into a training opportunity for the students. I'm watching them and teaching them how to vaccinate. They're getting the opportunity to talk to clients and have the experience of dealing with the public. So that's a win-win. And then Muriel, the same thing. Their goal is to help in the community, and they're paying for part of the vaccine. So everything is funded.
Come together nicely. Wow. That's obviously a wonderful effort. And you've been doing that for a couple of years now, over a year?
I've been doing that particular aspect of it for about 6 months. We just had on Wednesday our 6th shelter, our 6th event. And the only thing I've asked for from the public is I've had some food donations, because we like to give out dog food at these events. We also offer cat vaccines, but interestingly, we haven't had a lot of clients bring cats. It's mainly been dogs.
Yeah, nobody cares about cats.
We're getting towards the end of our show. I'm seeing the 5-minute warning from the governor, Governor Don. Is there... you're undertaking a project at Victory Park through the Lions Club, I believe, the Stockton House Lions, a rocket ship you're building?
So that's actually a meld of a couple different projects. So let's back up. So the Victory Park project that I'm actually working on is in coordination with the fire department. We are trying to relocate their memorial that was downtown, and they're wanting to relocate that to Station 6. And so my Lions Club is involved, though. We're planning to have a bowling fundraiser in April to generate a portion of the funds needed to set up the foundation and showcase this beautiful, beautiful memorial. And it's exciting because it's going to be near the Hagen, and it's a perfect tie-in with the history of our city. The rocket ship is actually with Pixie Woods, and I'm on the board for Pixie Woods. And in the past, Pixie Woods did have a rocket ship, but through deterioration and over time, it had to be taken down. And so now we're working on generating funds to build a new rocket ship.
That's when you say they used to, Victory Park used to have.
Pixie Woods used to have.
So Pixie Woods doesn't have one?
No, not currently.
Victory Park, when I was a kid, had one as well.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It totally did. You had to
Okay,
climb up top.
I didn't know that.
You were on top of you. And,
okay,
yeah.
I didn't know that.
I know they had a totem pole.
Yeah, they had a totem pole,
Yes,
and they had
they're
a rocket ship.
One. Okay, I
In
didn't
fact,
know
that rocket ship may have gone to Pixie Woods.
Oh, maybe.
And
maybe
then
that's
Pixie
the
Woods
connection.
had it.
Okay, and then Lions is also very instrumental in the development of Pixie Woods. So there is a tie-in.
Gotcha.
That's great. Yeah. And by the way, keep in mind, if that memorial needs moving, Delta Cranes is available. I'll donate my crane to set it in place.
Awesome.
That's
I
do
great.
that for multiple nonprofits.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
That's very generous of you. Thank you for offering
That's
that.
easy.
He did that 2 years ago for the Vietnam War Memorial Day.
Believe it or not, we do about once every month or two.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I had in Manteca at the it's a all volunteer, I guess, cemetery that they have over off of Union. And they asked, hey, we need to move some big heavy bins and about 8,000-pound units. And I sent my crane over, took care of it, and they were very happy and appreciative.
You wouldn't happen to have any connections to cement?
Cement? No.
No. Okay.
No.
All right. I will let Jonathan Smith, though. That's my connection to the firefighters. Know what you said about moving it. That would be phenomenal.
Yeah, we'll take care of them.
Okay. Weekend's coming up, but Tom, I'm interested in hearing about your weekend last weekend.
Last weekend was Survival Weekend. It was Stockton Dads Club, which is a phenomenal group of dads and no moms. We get together with our kids, and once a month we do activities. Last weekend was our annual trip up to Pinecrest, Lair of the Bear, run by UC Berkeley.
Oh,
so we went up there.
Cool.
It's awesome, and so we go up there. But this year it was like 28 degrees at nighttime. It was cold. It was survival camp. My first night, I swear I didn't sleep until about 5:30 in the morning when it started to change. I did not sleep. I kept checking my daughter's nose and ears, make sure she wasn't going to get frostbite, because I watched that movie Everest, Climbing Everest, and I had this great fear that she was going to be like, because I kept putting a hat on her and she kept taking it off when she's sleeping, and so I was just fussing over her all night long, but we had a wonderful fun time. I mean, it was hiking, boating, horseback riding, kids and dads doing a great time.
Horseback ride?
Yeah, we went
cool.
horseback riding up and down the mountains, and it was wonderful. Every meal, we make sure that there's a vegetable or fruit, so that we're doing our dad duty for good nutrition. But the Stockton Dads Club is a fun organization, and again, once a month we do lots of activities. that we look forward to all year long. It's really
that's
cool.
awesome. Now today,
You know what else we have, though, by the way, is March of Dimes.
Oh.
At the Civic Auditorium, March of Dimes is doing there, and I used to be on the board of directors for March of Dimes in Northern California. They're doing this coming Wednesday at 5:30 at Civic Auditorium. That's going to be October 5th, I believe.
4th.
October 4th. Okay, at the Stockton Civic Auditorium. They're doing their annual signature chef dinner, sponsored by Big Valley Ford, another great contributor to the community. So, so they're going to host probably about 18 to 20 chefs, local chefs, featuring great signature meals that they would offer from their restaurants. And it's a phenomenal fundraiser. In the past, they've raised literally hundreds of thousands of dollars. That all goes to prenatal care, solving and settling and taking care of babies, and especially when they're at risk or at birth under duress. So March of Dimes does so many phenomenal things when it comes to that prenatal care, and some when those premature babies are born. There's a March of Dimes. Medications, treatments, processes.
Healthy babies is what it's the goal, mission, the objective of the March of Dimes Foundation is to ensure healthy babies. And the Signature Chefs event is their, I hate to say signature fundraiser because I'm repeating the same word, but it's essentially their annual fund, their gala.
They focus on, they really want every baby as a special opportunity for a life, and they do everything they can. You think about what an organization like March of Dimes does. When a baby is born under duress, you only have hope at that moment. What's going to happen? What can we do? The doctors, the nurses, the parents, they're all desperately clinging on to one thing: hope. And the contributions that we make to organizations like March of Dimes help enhance the probability and success of that hope, and turns it into a treatment and process.
It's great objective. Now this is 5:30 this coming Wednesday, the 4th of October at the Stockton Memorial Civic Auditorium. Okay, I don't know if I'll be able to get a ticket to go, but I will certainly try to show up and take photos of the event.
That would be
now
awesome.
Today, Tom, you were
Can I add one quick to that?
Go right ahead.
Phoenicia Gaines and Lee Nevis were here in the studio with me
you?
this past Tuesday to highlight it. And one thing that they said that just to me adds even more emphasis that we really need people supporting this is that our county actually has the highest rate in California of premature births. And I was not aware of that. And so that makes the work that they do all the more important.
Yeah, which translates to county hospital, because that's the best prenatal care program in San Joaquin County is county hospital.
Yeah, absolutely. Tom, you were at the Ramus House earlier today.
I was, and there's another great example of a family organization that Anton Ramos donated properties that were converted into homeless shelters for at-risk. They are the only one in California where it's fathers and children. There's a campus for fathers and children. It's the only one in all of Northern California, so that fathers and kids can go right there. Then they've got one for obviously women and children, and transitional homing. So they have 3 different locations, and they were telling me today that they actually have a 65% success rate of getting people stabilized and into secure and regular housing.
That's awesome.
65. Normally they're like 9%. And before the new leadership took over there, they were at 9%. But that's apparently the average of people that go through shelters. Only about 9% of them get stable and self-sufficient. But they're operating in the 60s. So it's a faith-based organization. It's wraparound services, clean and sober, and so many great things. That's one of those another examples of private and public sectors working together. And this one is very private, that has stepped up, and they're helping the community. And people travel from all over just to go there because of what they offer.
Well, Julie, right before we wrap up, we have a couple minutes left. Is there anything else you would like to add? Thank you for being such a wonderful guest, engaging and sharing with us your insights on a wide range of local activities and activities that you're involved in. Anything you'd like to add before we call today?
I'd just like to thank Tom and you for having me on the show today, and I hope that our listeners are motivated to reach out in the community, find an area that interests you, and put your time, energy, it doesn't have to be monetary donations, time is a big deal, into helping, and that you can make a difference.
Very true, and that is the key, is having an impact. When we talk to Roy Morales, and you really point out, it's not what we do, it's what else we can do. And we can all do the minimum. We all do the minimum to get by, but what are you doing extra? And you are one of those examples that you go above and beyond. And I definitely give you the very well-deserved moniker of a Wonder Woman, because you stand out and a fine example. So I really do thank you and appreciate you for your time coming into the hot seat, as we might say, and answering some questions and being available, because you do have a passion to the community, and to people and to animals. And we look forward to just every day watching what else you're doing, because you do so much. And thank you. I really appreciate that.
That's so cool. Thank you.